pressed them, and then aged them in large terracotta vases similar to that one that we're using as a planter now. Now those terracotta vases, they would place almost about 3/4 of the way into the ground. They would age the wine, that way they could sort of control the temperature. Now the wine, after about 6 months, for them was ready. They would take it out and place it in small, green, hand-blown glass bottles called fiasco. Now these bottles, being hand-blown, tended to be very brittle, and they were rounded at the bottom, so the women would take straw and weave baskets and place them on the bottom so that they wouldn't break during transport, and they would sit upright. And they put a little handle on the top, and the men would take a stick, slide a bottle of wine, or 2 or 3, with their lunch, go out into the fields, and hang the wine in the trees. So whenever they finished a row, they drink. And they basically drink the wine all day.
Drinking game.
Yes, well, except for they could get away with drinking the wine all day without passing out by 11 o'clock or 10 o'clock because the wine was very high in sugar and low in alcohol. Because the only way they aged it were in those terracotta vases. They didn't control the temperature, nor did they add yeast. So they ended up with a very sweet wine. Now that wine, as it continued to age, would increase in alcohol. So when it got about a year old, it actually had about 10 or 11% alcohol, and it was too high for them. So they would then take the wine and sell it at the market under the name of Vino da Chianti, or wine from Chianti. And to this day, if you think of Chianti wine, most people think of the green bottle in a basket, makes a nice candle holder, and that's where Chianti came from. The problem was that there was no control over the wine. So in the 1920s, they came up with a cooperative called the Gallo Nero, which is the Black Rooster, which is a cooperative which controls this area. And they have certain rules. Don't sit down too quickly. But all Chianti Classico must contain a minimum of 80% Sangiovese. If it doesn't have that much Sangiovese, I cannot give it the name Chianti Classico. Number 2, Chianti Classico must come from the original area of Chianti, which seems sort of stupid, except for that if I go over to San Gimignano, or across the hills near Livorno, or south of Siena, or north of Florence, I exit out of an area that is very hilly and rocky, and it becomes much, shall we say, clay-like. The soil is a lot richer. So, because of that, the grapes that are grown are much different. Here we're very rocky. You've probably seen the soil. It's very rocky. In fact, it looks like nothing should be able to grow here. But these rocks create a grape which is very small, but very strong and very high in sugar. But we can only make that grape here. I can take Sangiovese and plant it in California or in South Africa and Australia and end up with an entirely different grape, just because the climate and the soil are different. So Chianti Classico has a unique climate. We're slightly higher. It's a little bit cooler, even though you wouldn't know it today. And the grapes that are produced are very unique to this area. Also, it has to be a minimum of 80% Sangiovese. But that means also, if I want, I can make it 90, 95, even 100% Sangiovese. But here the Sangiovese is quite bitter, and when we go out into the fields, you'll be able to taste the grape. But because of that, I want to add other red grapes. Those red grapes just must be grown on my own farm. They don't have to be Italian. They just have to be on my own farm. And so, as much as we hate to say it, we grow Merlot and Cabernet Sauvignon, which are French grapes. Okay, but well, we can beat them in football, but we have to take something.
It's still 80% Italian.
Exactly. It's still 80% Italian, exactly. So the Merlot and the Cabernet are grown on that field right there, where you see the cypress trees. And we use that also to make a wine, which is not a Chianti Classico, which has more Merlot and Cabernet. And when we go to taste the wine, I'll explain that. But let's walk and we'll go into a field very quickly, and I'll show you.